Oh boy, we're back. Folks, I want to welcome everybody. Go Blue, and welcome to Michigan Wolverines Live's 100th episode special. I'm very excited for this, and obviously we have some very special guests that should be coming in and out, but I don't want to waste any more time. My name's John D'Adamo. You already know that, but who's more important is the guy who's literally coming to you live from Indy, attending Big Ten Media Days. You may have seen him on your television earlier. Mark Rogers, voice of college football. Hey, Mark.
John, how are you?
Man, I have been, I'll tell you what, the coffee I have needed, because I have been jumping around from my regular stuff to making sure that I listen to all of your stuff and taking it all in, Big Ten Media Days. But how's it feel to be there in Indy?
It's been great. It's a beautiful facility. I've never been here. The guy I'm with that's helping me out has covered the Big Ten championship game and has also been here for some recent Big Ten championship games. But I've never been here before. I've been to Indianapolis once. That was to cover an NCAA tournament in 1996. That was a long time ago.
Wow.
So everything's good with Indy. It's nice and toasty here. It's supposed to be 95, but perfect weather conditions in the dome, of course. But it's a great event. Shoot, right back that way right now, still talking at the podium because I think he just loves to talk and he does such a great job at it, is Bret Bielema. And
there we go.
Over there for 20 or 25 minutes. And these are the kind of conversations that I enjoy, John, because the nuts and bolts football, you know, I'm all about that, the nuts and bolts football. But many of those questions, yeah, there are coach speak responses. And then you go to the frivolous and your favorite question of the day involving Barbie, of course.
Oh, yeah, that was just top level journalism right there.
The questions and the conversations I enjoy the most are somewhat nuts and bolts in football, but with a bit of a personal aspect. So, for example, Bret Bielema went on about 10 or 15 minutes about his relationship with Kirk Ferentz, everything that Kirk Ferentz did for him in grooming him as a coach, everything that they went through, having beers on the porch late at night, talking football, just those background stories that you don't normally get in the pregame and postgame news conferences during the hustle and bustle of the season that are still football oriented, but they mix the personal aspect too. I really enjoy those, and Bret Bielema is fun to listen to.
Yeah, and he handled that question with Barbie very well. As silly as it was, he gave it a real answer. But I want to ask you about your two. And I was actually talking on the side while I was also doing my regular stuff. I was talking to Jason, and we were watching your questions live on the Big Ten Network. And so I thought it was really interesting that you for Coach Franklin, you asked him the question that nobody else seemed to be brave enough to ask. Like, hey, what are you going to do to beat Ohio State and beat Michigan? So I know that this is the Michigan show, but I think we're going to make a special exception here. What did you think about that answer? And he seemed to give kind of a corporate answer in the beginning, as they all do. But I mean, he sort of kind of addressed it. What was your take there?
So that question probably didn't pop into my mind until about 30 seconds before I asked it. But I know that I wanted to ask James Franklin a question. And then I thought there has been so much made of his program and Penn State developing players, recruiting the type players, building their whole system around knocking off Ohio State. Well, that's been the case leading up till 2 seasons ago. And now Michigan owns the division and owns the conference. And so it just kind of hit me that I wonder how he'll respond to setting up. There's been so much talk your entire tenure about building your program to beat Ohio State. Now you have a very different Michigan team, especially on offense, comparing the two offenses. So how are you going to approach trying to knock both of them off in
Yeah.
which their offensive approaches are so different, and not just the defense versus offense, but building your entire system from the ground up in terms of recruiting, player development, schemes, in dealing with those two programs, because they haven't been successful with those two teams, of course. And I thought he was fairly honest. While no coach wants to say that another program is dictating to them what they're doing. So he stopped short of saying, we're gunning for these two.
We've
We
got
think
to
about them
beat
all the
Michigan
time.
segment of our week.
Yes, he stopped short of that, but I think he uncovered. I think it was pretty fairly obvious that James Franklin acknowledged that Ohio State and Michigan have much to do with how they've built their program.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely you had a nice middle ground between some of the other questions that were asked, and what are you going to do to stop Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum from running 417 yards against your defense? So I think it was a nice middle ground between what some of our fans would have asked and what some other questions were there.
Well, I did sit in on a couple of side sessions with some Penn State players and a couple of their defensive players. I did not get that opportunity, but I wanted to very respectfully state the one game last year where you just clearly got pushed all over the place was the Michigan game. This is not a case where you can watch film and say, hey, they tricked us here and tricked us there and we'll be better prepared. It was more like, they just pushed us down the field. What are we going to do about that? But unfortunately, the Penn State contingent of media was talkative and just kept asking questions, and I never was able to get to that topic because I was curious to hear the kind of challenge to your manlyhood kind of question as to how they would have responded.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it's great, and all these side sessions that you're doing. I'm curious about a lot of things, but we'll go with the other one that people might have heard when they were watching, which is you asked Coach Ryan Day, Ohio State, what about the defense and Knowles, and are you going to take more of a look at defense, and kind of like what we've been saying for months about how Urban Meyer used to take more of a CEO mentality, make recommendations to the defense and some of those things. You kind of asked that question. What did you think about that one, and like kind of how he navigated it?
And also woven into that question was, I wanted to get some type of insight into, are you sold on the Jim Knowles defense? And is that the defense?
3-3-5.
And so the players better just get better. They got to learn better technique. They got to have better play recognition. They need to do all those things to be a step quicker and all of those things to fit this defense, because this defense is gold. Or does this defense need scheme adjustments? And are you looking at the skill sets of your defensive players to say, he doesn't do this well, or we need to insert this player in this situation rather than the other way around? So I was trying to get a feel for that. Ryan Day pretty much cut it right down the middle to say we need to do both. We need to be able to look at our players and evaluate their skills and abilities and their strengths and weaknesses and tweak the defense to fit that. But we also need to look at our players, and they need to continue to develop so we're not blowing coverages and we're not missing plays in the open field like we did last year. The big play, that is going to be the entire key to Ohio State's defensive season, of course, is stopping those 3 or 4 big plays against the big opponents.
Sure. Yeah, and maybe factoring in the passing ability this time of JJ, because I think Knowles just hadn't seen yet. Because really, JJ only threw deep balls successfully against teams like Hawaii, Western Michigan, and I think that they, I think they did the right thing. If I were Knowles, I'd do a similar thing. Maybe some of the, some of the all-out blitz and some of the man coverage might have been different, but the general concept of stop the run because you have 2 of the best running backs in college football, it wasn't a bad strategy. It's just they were ready for the 2021, I believe, version of Michigan. I think they were prepared to beat, and they probably could have beat the 2021 version of Michigan in 2022. I think they could have stopped the run and beat Cade McNamara, but they were facing a quarterback that finally was able to crystallize his deep ball at the wrong time for the Buckeyes. So we'll see how they adjust and add some more zone in the next year. So to get to Michigan, curiosity about maybe some of what you've been hearing. I know there is a lot of meat on the bone today to chew on, between investigations and between schedule announcements. But what is the general vibe that you've been hearing or topic that's kind of come up the most about Michigan?
Well, it's funny because I guarantee everybody in the chat heard about the HARBAUGH suspension before I did. I was in the car. I was en route. I was picking up my buddy, and he threw out the HARBAUGH situation. And I said, what happened? And so I haven't completely looked into it, but knowing what the incident was and what the NCAA was investigating, I know what the deal was in terms of, it seems a bit ludicrous. And again, I have yet to really look into the NCAA's. I know what the ruling is and the penalty, but their reasoning of it being, I'm guessing, more not what the original infraction was, but more about your lack of cooperation. And we're going to stick it to you because of your lack of cooperation.
Yeah. Well, let me lay it down because so we've had some knucklehead commenters saying I don't do research. So let me lay it down for you here. So there was a notice of 4 level 2 violations, including meeting with recruits during COVID, texting a recruit outside of time period, and they also had analysts performing coaching duties and watching players work out via Zoom. So, those are things that the investigators for the NCAA asked HARBAUGH about. HARBAUGH was, I guess, they felt less than perfectly forthcoming. Although, to be fair, I don't know if I was in that situation or if any of us were in that situation, we'd have a perfect recollection of the exact day and time that certain things happened. So if this ever went to court, good luck proving it. But they basically levied a level 1 violation, or they're planning to levy a level 1 violation for lying to the investigators, which could have a max penalty of 6 games and recruiting, basically withdrawals, like taking away some of the recruiting. And so it sounds like they're negotiating that 4-game suspension for HARBAUGH and a 1-game suspension for Sharon Moore and tight ends coach Grant Newsome. Also funny, because this will never get enforced, Mike McDonald has been given a show cause penalty for reasons, even though he's safely in the NFL as the defensive coordinator for the Ravens. He's good. He can't be touched. So it sounds like that's the negotiation that they're doing right now. So there you go, folks.
So, John, I am expecting.
Yes, there you go.
I apologize if I have cut you off a few times, but maybe we're breaking up a little bit. I would expect the vibe and the talk in the building to be significantly different tomorrow than it is today. Once Jim Harbaugh enters the building, there is going to be, a mass of humanity around him. And of course, we are going to be hanging on every word. Ryan Day, of course, was the rock star in the building today for very different reasons. Just to compare the media contingent around Ryan Day during the side session on the podium versus even Mel Tucker and Brett Bielema, guys that, of course, command a lot of attention, is just shows the significance of the rivalry and these two programs in particular. But not a whole lot of talk yet about Jim Harbaugh. But again, when we step in the building tomorrow, I'm guessing the vibe is going to be much different, and there's going to be head coaches that may be feeling good that they're completely ignored to a certain extent because they're not going to have to ask tough questions because they're all directed toward him. I was thinking the same thing when Coach Braun was at the podium for Northwestern, thinking if this was any other program, it would really, that's what he basically had to answer to his entire time at the podium. But a more profile program would have caused even more of a stir.
I call it the Northwestern question, and I think every coach and Tony Petitti got the Northwestern question of what's up with you, how's your culture doing? What steps are you taking to make sure your culture is the Northwestern question? Everybody got it. And it was just that sounded like anchor topic for the day. If I could pick just one, it would probably be everyone had to deal with Northwestern. And I said this on Twitter, or I guess it's called X now, whatever. But I said this, like, is this it? Like, don't they understand that Tony Petitti is only going to say what his lawyers approved him to say, his PR team approved him to say, and he's not going to deviate from that. This guy has media training. Like, he can only say, we're working to improve. We're doing, just like when the Washington Commanders rolled out their new owner. He couldn't really say much about the Dan Snyder stuff. So I guess they kept asking, though. They kept asking.
Well, John,
we have a special.
Yes, I believe you've got another even more special guest than me.
Folks, back by popular demand. He's been asked for every single week and every single day by the commenters, and I'm very happy to announce that for our 100th episode, Dre's back in the house.
Hello, gentlemen. Wow, look at you, Mark.
Dre, good to see you.
You as well, sir.
I will say hi and bye in one fell swoop, but good to see you, and I confidently know that you guys will take this show home.
Absolutely. Enjoy yourself.
Absolutely. We'll be back, everyone, tomorrow with more interviews, more clips from Indianapolis, mostly on the main channel, but much here on the Michigan channel as well. So keep it locked in here. Good to see you, Dre. John, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark, for stopping by.
All right.
Dre, welcome back.
Yes,
How
sir.
you doing?
I'm good. It's great to be back. It's hard making it during the week, a family and stuff like that. But definitely look forward to this fall, doing the post game show and stuff like that. Crazy, 24, 48 hours pertaining to Michigan, right?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Everybody's calling it Burgergate. And I actually got a cheeseburger last night with some fries. And, I don't usually get Applebee's, but they have an underrated burger, I think. And so I was like, I'm breaking the diet out of protest for the utter ridiculousness of what we are hearing is going to be negotiated, a 4-game suspension, because Harbaugh couldn't recall whether or not they did, the exact day of when they did some Zoom stuff. I just laid it out earlier in the show, but, basically it was 4 level 2 violations for doing things like meeting with 2 recruits during COVID, texting a recruit outside of a certain time period, and coaches were watching players work out via Zoom. In the NFL, they were sending the workout videos via video. I don't know what's really the big difference there between a video recording, Zoom, whatever. I don't know if you're watching Hard Knocks, but that's they basically sent in their workout videos.
Right. Well, COVID, the height of COVID, threw everything into a tailspin. Everybody had to adjust. It was a weird time. Are you hearing me okay, by the way?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So, like I said, everybody had to adjust. And I think looking at the situation, I have a couple of thoughts. I think one, I can't prove this, but the NCAA and Jim don't necessarily, they haven't been on the best footing. Jim's been very critical of the NCAA, the hypocrisies of the NCAA in their rules and the way they get into things they probably shouldn't. And therefore, he, at the bare minimum, he hasn't made, I'm sure, a lot of friends with them. Now, does this excuse them necessarily coming after him in a possible unfair way? No, but I think it's worth noting as a potential factor. I also believe that Jim's personality, especially when he's very strong in his convictions, he's not willing to maybe take the easy road at times. And I think that can possibly hurt him as well. So do I think the suspension is necessarily fair? No. I am thankful that it's 4 as opposed to 6, because it could have been, I think, a max of 6 games, but they were able to negotiate it down to 4. The 4 games he's going to miss are not really very scary in terms of the caliber opponent. So I don't think they would miss him per se on those particular Saturdays, but fact of the matter is, he won't be there for a quarter of the season, at least on Saturdays for the game. So, I think Michigan, even though this is a tough blow optically, it'll be okay in terms of the trajectory of our season, and we'll be able to bounce back. I think the leadership on this roster is what I'm most pleased about. And that gives me a lot of solace. You think about guys like Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, J.J. McCarthy, and that's just on the offensive side of the ball. They're all locked in, and they understand what the goal is this year. And even with Jim not on the sidelines, those particular first 4 weeks, this team will not come out flat. They will take care of the business, because I think this is one of those rare situations where everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, the games here, I've put them on the screen. Really terrifying opponents. The East Carolina Pirates.
Right.
I actually had one of the fans tweet at me saying, "This is great news because they might have a chance now." Well, good luck with that. I think you might get beat worse because they're angry. UNLV, Bowling Green, and of course the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. So what we're hearing is that Harbaugh is negotiating a 4-game suspension. Sharon Moore and tight ends coach Grant Newsome are getting a 1-game suspension. Again, this isn't fully confirmed yet. This is what we're hearing they're negotiating. And Mike McDonald, former defensive coordinator, now at the Ravens, has a make-believe show cause penalty that's never going to be enforced unless he comes back to college for some reason.
Right.
So I will argue that they, I was asking the question, what if they just said no? What if Michigan just said, we're good. We'll see you in court. I don't think they're going to do it, because I think Harbaugh cares about his assistant coaches. And so
right.
I think Harbaugh is going to use this as an opportunity to give his assistants in-game head coach experience. So with that said, I'm curious to know your head coach prediction. I've got mine here. Either they go with Jesse Minter for all 4 games, or they could opt to really showcase the ridiculousness of this, and they could have Mike Hart game 1 when Sharon is out, Sharon Moore game 2, Jesse Minter game 3, and then maybe Kirk Campbell or Jay Harbaugh game 4, and have head coach musical chairs.
Knowing how Jim is, I wouldn't be surprised if it was more than musical chairs route. He, like you said, he's always been an odd guy, but he also, from a player perspective, and also his coaches, they always want to play hard for that guy, and one of the things that I always admire about Jim is that, have you ever noticed after a big time win, and I think part of it is due to he's not a great interviewer. That's not his strong suit, but he'll say a couple words. He'll quickly kind of pat whatever player of the game it was on the shoulder and say, "Talk to this guy. This is the guy that got us here." And he makes sure that he gives those kids their shine. And I think he's probably the same way with his assistant coaches. He may want to give them all a little bit of a taste of what it's like to call the shots. but the two main guys that stick out in that list is Jesse Minter and Mike Hart. I think Jesse Minter is an interesting choice because he really comes off as more of a calm guy. He's going to have the game plan and he's going to execute it to a T. Well, I think Mike Hart's strength is going to be more on the emotional side, you know. So it'll be interesting. I'll actually love to see both of those two guys get a shot. Maybe split. One get two, the other get two. Because I think they'll have totally different types of approaches within the game. So, and I won't be surprised if
like
Mike Hart
Cade
really
and JJ audition all over again. Like Cade takes game 1, JJ takes game 2. Well, how about Jesse Minter takes 2 games and Mike Hart takes 2 games?
We have our own little head coaching carousel. The first 4 weeks. But so, and the good thing is, once again, to reiterate this, it's a great part of the schedule to do this. I can't even. You know what, John? I can't even come up with a situation where Michigan should be in danger of any of these teams. Maybe if you want to put Rutgers as a potential slight scare, Greg Schiano is a good coach. I do believe defensive coach. He gets those guys to play hard for him. If there was any team that could possibly give a scare, it would be them, right? And no, I'm not putting Michigan on upset alert by no means when that game comes, but I'm just saying, like, that's their first Big Ten opponent, and you just never know.
Well, you know that we're going to clip that and say Rutgers a threat, but
it's okay.
That's
look. Schiano is a good coach, and I think you have to leave room for, hey, look, if you come out flat, and you have a coach like Schiano who and a team like Rutgers that has a we have nothing to lose type of mentality. You just never know. You can find yourself in a dogfight. Look, we've seen around college football, especially the last couple of years, some crazy upsets. We've seen Marshall go into Notre Dame and upset them in their house. We saw, what was it? Not Appalachian State. Who was Appalachian? Someone went into Texas A&M and beat it's
App State.
App State. So we've seen some craziness going around in college football. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, albeit very unlikely. You must always be a little bit wary of your opponent, especially for a team that like them that has nothing to lose.
Yeah, I mean it's really it. I think Rutgers, our friend Jackson also said potentially East Carolina, based on some of what he's hearing. I am putting, by the way, folks, we are going to be taking calls for maybe the first time you've taken, but I've taken them on 1 or 2 occasions on the show because it's our 100th episode. Okay, we're gonna let some of the community in and welcome them to come on board. We're just gonna take them one at a time. I'm not doing a panel. Not to, it's a little crazy, I think, for this, but, you're welcome to call in. Thank you, Bulldog Mayonnaise, for your $20 in Norwegian krone money. I did look that up because I was like, what is that? Thank you for that. I love burgers with cheese, pickles, and serious mayo. How do you like your burgers, Dre?
I like a little bacon on it, cheese, ketchup, mustard. I like to load it up, man. Lettuce, tomato. Sometimes I throw some jalapenos on there. Seriously, I like to load it up. Load it up for sure.
Yeah, I either go one of 2 ways. I either go like mustard and ketchup and lettuce and raw onions, or I go mayo, grilled onions, cheddar cheese. It's one of those 2. Go all in one of them.
I like the onion straws, actually, like the fried onion straws. I like those on there as well. So no, I can. Burgers one of my favorite, man. I mean, who doesn't like burgers outside of, well, maybe if you're vegetarian, but other than that, yeah, it's hard to. It's a weird situation, I if this is, I'll put it this way, if this is the only negative thing about this upcoming season, and that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. And at some point, I'm not sure if you hit on, but we saw today that that the MSU game has been pushed to a night game. So that's going to be very fun.
Oh yeah.
When we get there.
Hold that thought. Just so Jason, thank you for the $2. Jim messed up by not making it a 3X cheeseburger. Well, listen, he went to the Brown Jug. So in my opinion, the Brown Jug has a pretty solid burger. They do a pretty good job. I don't know if you've been there, but yeah, it's a great time. Yeah,
I haven't.
Yeah, I recommend it. Real quick, and then we're gonna get to play caller prediction for game 1 and then the game times. But this is a reminder to get yourself your Voice of College Football merchandise at the merch store. You can have your promo code football to get free shipping. So check it out. We have a wide variety of merchandise to offer, and we even have now. I think this is the first time that you've been on when we've had the Michigan section. So in addition to some of this merchandise, you got yourself Michigan football, the Voice of College Football, and you can have a cheers to who's got it better than us, nobody, or many other things. So check it out, merch store. If you haven't, give it a look.
Please.
Alrighty. Let's go to play caller prediction. So we talked about our head coach prediction, but if Sharon Moore gets a 1 game, which is what we're thinking happens, my prediction is that because they like their collaborative play calling, I think that Mike Hart and Kirk Campbell are going to be the play callers. Mike Hart with the run and Kirk Campbell with the pass. What do you think?
No, I think that's a pretty safe bet. Especially ideally speaking, and when Jim comes back, it will be fully Sharon Moore's calls. But for this type of situation, I think they will lean more towards a dual play calling. Both guys are positional coaches, so they understand what guys fit best with certain play calls, certain looks, certain formation. So I absolutely think that'd be the best thing to do. Mike knows which running plays probably work the best and who's better to run them, and Kirk definitely knows what JJ probably have the best feel for what JJ would be able to do in certain situations. So no, I like that, and I think it's probably the safest route as opposed to giving one guy full carte blanche to make a call. Or well, it is game 1. It's just Sharon Moore's not there, but yeah. So I think that's the best thing to do.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, the other big announcement, in addition to Burgergate, was that we have some new game times.
Yeah.
So Michigan at Michigan State. Look out for that one. 7:30 Eastern kickoff on NBC. Can you imagine a night game after what just happened this past year? And now you're putting this game at night?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, man, and I get so tired of this because, and especially here locally, certain media forums position Michigan fans and players as a certain way. And like anything else, John, like it's not fair to generalize anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this whole notion is that like there's a couple of videos I remember after the whole tunnel gate thing where it shows some Michigan fans trying to touch Mel Tucker's head as he was walking out the stadium, and just a couple of like fools doing nonsense, and it's like, oh well, look, you see Michigan and they instigated the situation, all this stuff, and it's like, what, a lot of times for situations like this, yes, it's probably fair to say one person's more at fault than the other. A lot of times the person who's reacting, and as we saw how nasty that guy based on the video, but there's multiple parties at play that lead to that combustion of situation, right? And going into this night game, you're going to get fools. Again, you're going to have some people in the stands that are going to do things they shouldn't be doing, say things out of pocket, or maybe even get physical, which is wrong. And I just think that I hope that the game stays on the field. Like most of the attention
Yep.
is on the field, and that's the story before the game and the story after the game for the most part. And I don't know. I mean, I've heard some people say, you know, a night game at MSU benefits the Spartans, maybe gives them a chance to upset the Wolverines. I know historically, you know, MSU has done pretty good against Michigan at home, no matter what the team's rankings are going into that game. And I've always given a tremendous amount of respect to the Spartans because they do play hard. And look, we've lost to them in recent years where we've had the better team. 2 years ago, you know, and so you got to go in there with your, you know, focus and not with your, not like a deer in headlights, but I fully expect Michigan to be ready to play. Michigan's, and it starts with Blake Corum's comments. You know, it's national title or bust. Like they understand what's on the table here, right? And MSU is going to be just another team in front of them that is standing in their way. And one thing about goes back to the senior leadership on this team is that they take each week as a wall in front of them, and they do a great job of just running through that wall. And I highly anticipate they're going to do the same thing, no matter if it's day or night or whenever, playing at MSU. So I think it's cool for us, you know, as fans, you know, get to, you know, sit down, you know, have some you know, libations and, you know, eat and all that good stuff and watch a game at night. But I don't think for the players it's going to sway the outcome one way or the other. Michigan is the better team now, and I think will be the better team going into that game.
I think you said everything pretty perfectly. Only thing I would add is that I think that Michigan is going to legally, within the bounds of the game, do some stuff to Michigan State. I think that legally within the bounds of the game, this may run away score-wise.
I can see that. Absolutely.
Keep it, you know.
I mean, there are a lot of questions. Here's the thing, too, you know, and look, we're in the preseason now. We don't know what's going to happen when both these teams hit the field, but there are a lot of question marks about MSU. Like, I don't even know what their quarterback situation is going to be. I mean, I think Noah Kim probably is going to be their guy as of now. Right. They lost their biggest pass catcher in Keon Coleman. I mean, they have a lot of questions. So, hello, Jackson. They have a lot of questions. So, I mean, as of now, I don't see a formula for MSU to give us much of a scare, but you just never know.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to bring in Jackson Johnson, host of the Jacksonian. Go for it.
Oh, to your point, Dre, thank you guys for having me on. To your point, Dre, about how Michigan State, you never know with Michigan State. Michigan hasn't beaten Michigan State in East Lansing since 2018. Mm-hmm. But I think that ends. Michigan is going to put a shellacking on Michigan State for sure. But what's your guys' reaction to the Big Ten finally having some November night games? All right.
Well, you know, I think it goes back to TV money and ratings. You know, what's interesting is that I don't know how you guys feel about what's it called? The Big Saturday. Is that what the Fox Big Saturday on Fox? Big noon. Like honestly, I'm kind of indifferent to it. You know, I've always been more of ideally a 3:30 kick person for the primetime games. But I think to your point, Jackson, I love it. I think they stayed away from it historically in the past, probably due to weather concerns. But this is football, and this is football in the Midwest. So these guys are used to playing in, you know, inclement weather. And it looks like now they're trying to get some of that, more of that prime time eyes nationally, which is why they could be flexing to these later games. So I love it.
Oh, man, that's going to be awesome. And we got the Big Ten on NBC schedule figured out for now, but we're still kind of trying to figure out what the Big Ten on CBS slate will be. Because, I mean, we got a doubleheader for October 28th and November 4th and Black Friday. But that's pretty much it that's figured out for now. But I loved your idea about the musical chairs style for the interim coaches. That maybe we should see that more often. That would be pretty cool. Like kind of like a 1-game audition.
Yeah.
I don't
Just
know
to
about
highlight the ridiculousness of this suspension thing.
right. I don't know about during the middle of the season, the bulk of the season. But I definitely do it to the quality of opponent that it probably won't hurt because Michigan is so superior. I mean, for God's sake, I think you could combine all 4 of those teams together, and I still don't think that they're good enough to beat Michigan. So that's not being cocky. It's just look, college football more than any other sport, and I think this is what separates it from any professional sport. Is really the haves and the have-nots. You can game plan all you want. You can be as motivated as you want. But talent really does show itself, and it's such a discrepancy when you have teams like this that are matched up. So yeah, you can afford to be able to have some more fun, right? You want to have certain coaches like, hey, you know what, Mike, you got the first quarter. You can do it like that. You get certain guys can do musical. You do musical chairs, turns of quarters, turns of halves. They can do that. It may not just be a full game. They can give Mike the first half, give Kirby Campbell the second half. So, I think they have that type of flexibility as well.
Yeah, I mean, and point I made a little while ago on the chat where I thought, well, Eastern Michigan seems to be the toughest out of the 4. I mean, let's be real. I don't see Rutgers giving Michigan a hard time anytime soon.
Oh, you mean East Carolina? Yeah, the Pirates.
Oh yeah, the Pirates of the Caribbean, in North Carolina.
There you go. Yeah, no. Well, I was saying I had a fan of East Carolina tweet at me and saying, yeah, hey, this is about the best news we could possibly hope for. And I'm like, not so fast, because I think they're going to play call angry now because of what's going on. Like, you might actually get beat worse than you would have before.
Yeah. And the thing about Michigan, and this has been pretty much the pattern since Jim Harbaugh has taken over there, especially for teams that they are superior in talent, they roll them, not just beat them. They absolutely roll them. And part of it's due to the way that Harbaugh likes to call a game. He wants to physically impose his will over you. So look at it from a standpoint of Eastern Carolina, a Rutgers, a Bowling Green, UNLV. What happens is that even if you come out fired up and you try to match their intensity and physicality, especially with the Michigan offensive line and running game, they just start to lean on you, and then and they wear you down. And then what happens is that your defense starts getting cut up like butter, and then your offense starts getting overwhelmed. And it becomes this powder keg of just a bad situation, and all of a sudden you're down 35 to 40 points, and Michigan's putting in their second and third string. So now I agree with you, John. I think if anything, this is going to give the players and the coaches the motivation that you know what, you're coming at us, we have something for you, and that doesn't spell well for or bode well for any of these opponents.
Yeah, Jackson. Final. So we do have another caller. So if you want to give a final thought, and where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe my channel, and follow me on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it these days. And thank you for having me on, Johnny, and thank you for having me on, Dre. And I'm wondering if the beat Georgia thing is going to help Michigan like it did the beat Ohio State thing, because I have a feeling
we should get Dre's take on the beat Georgia. We should, because I've been saying, if you guys read even a little bit into it, it's actually a beat insert postseason team here drill. But I'm curious to know your thoughts on beat Georgia, Dre.
Well, I'm glad you put that. You added that last part in there, John, because that was my biggest problem initially. I'm like, well, for one, you probably shouldn't. Like, we don't know if Georgia's going to be there. We believe that they should, but I think the biggest thing should be, as long as their goal is working towards a championship, that's the main concern. Beat whoever, like you said, that is there. Win a national title. That's as long as that's their goal, and they're taking that focus week to week, and they're doing is to prepare to do that. I'm fine. But I don't think it behooves them to focus on. Initially, this is how I took it. Your focus shouldn't be on Georgia every week like it is for Ohio State. Like, I love the fact that they're taking time out every week to look what Ohio State is doing, because we know we're going to play them. You don't know if you're going to play Georgia. So that was my only little concern when I heard that, is because you don't want to put any kind of attention to something that may not come down the line. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
All right, Jackson. Well, thanks for coming on and calling in and being part of our 100th episode special.
Happy 100th episode.
Thank you.
And here's 100 more.
That's right.
Thanks, man. We're about to bring in a friend of the show in just a second here. But we're going to start with a $5 super chat from Lemansky. Thank you very much. Leonard, working for Brett Bielema at Illinois, sets us up for more drama, like Eric and Cade passing this year, hoping to play Jim in the championship game.
Ooh.
Jim Leonard has been hired as a special assistant, I believe, with the title for Illinois.
Wow. Yeah. Well, look, in terms of Eric and Cade passing this year, hoping to play Jim in the championship game, it's ironic. I was actually talking to Des about this yesterday about
nice.
A potential Iowa and Michigan pairing in a Big Ten title game, because as of now, when I think the best Big Ten West teams are, Iowa, Illinois potentially. I don't know if that was a flash in the pan last year. They did lose Brown, their best running back, so we'll see how they do. And also, forgot the corner who was drafted high in the first round. His name, Devin. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Witherspoon. There it is. Devin Witherspoon. High draft pick. So they've lost some talent on their team, but so we'll see if Illinois can reclaim that. But Illinois, Iowa, maybe Wisconsin, can rise out of the ashes to reclaim what they used to be. But I would pick Iowa as a favorite, and I could see definitely a matchup in the Big Ten title game. And wow, what theater that would be to see those two go at it. JJ versus Cade.
Oh boy, that might be really something. And we've been talking about that. I even was on Hawkeye of the Storm with Corey Bratta a few weeks ago, and we were talking about that. What if JJ and Cade match up? I mean, the story normally that's like an NFL storyline. We might be getting that in college.
Yeah,
those two battling. So let's bring in friend of the show who I was DMing with pretty much all day as we were talking through the Big Ten media days and watching Mark Rogers ask people questions and everything else. Jason Moose, Michigan man, Jason in the house. How you doing, Jason?
What's up, John? Can you hear me?
I can. You're on with Dre and me.
Oh my God, you can hear me. All right. What's up?
Fixed.
So is it too loud or am I good?
No, it's perfect. Don't change a thing.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to add on to the HARBAUGH cheeseburger gate thing. I think it's a really, really, really big reach. I think it's really ridiculous. And the thing is Tennessee has over 200 violations for paying recruits, and they get a slap on the wrist. And Urban Meyer knew about one of the staff members abusing his wife, his spouse.
Yeah. And
didn't say nothing about it. He gets a 3-game suspension. So I think this is just really, really ridiculous. I honestly think that the NCAA has a vendetta out for Michigan. I really do.
Well, I heard a joke on Twitter where it was, or I guess X. I'm still going to call it Twitter. I don't care. But basically that, hey, if Michigan had just put in a bunch of money in the bag instead of a burger, then they'd be all good. So, I mean, the absurdity it writes itself.
That's probably true, though. They're probably right, as funny as it sounds.
Yeah, I think, thanks for calling in, Jason. I think that the bulk of the punishment it's not so much of the crime, but the reaction to it. And it was that Harbaugh apparently misled the NCAA. It's not about the burger itself. It's the misleading that they took from when they questioned him about it. And I do believe, even though it is slightly a reach and maybe slightly unfair of a punishment, there is a bit of accountability that Harbaugh has to share, and that's okay to say as well. And I think at the end of the day, we should be very fortunate that this suspension is not going to the bulk of our schedule, and the Michigan should be able to continue to go forward. And I won't say you're not going to miss Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines, but these are the 4 weeks that we can get away with it.
I just think that the timing of it is really, really bad because we're still trying to get Big Bennett Warren, that recruit from Texas.
Yeah.
And we got that barbecue coming up this weekend, and it's just a really bad time for this to be happening. And then we still got Gatlin Bear, and we possibly could be getting Aaron Scott too. I mean, I saw some Aaron Scott's tweets, man. I don't know. Everyone's saying he's 100% Ohio State. I looked at some of his posts, and I'm like, I don't know, man, because I think he's torn on who he wants to pick. I think he really wants to go to Michigan, but like you were saying earlier, I think he's got so much pressure on him. His family is all pro Ohio State, and they want him to go to Ohio State. So, and he doesn't know what he wants to do. Hopefully, he makes the right decision and comes to Michigan, but we'll see.
I think we all want that. I think the bigger picture that I'm so pleased with seeing, and John, I think I told you this, months ago when we were talking about this is earlier this year when the season was just kind of wrapping up. I really want to see Michigan, the coaching staff, capitalize on the success they've had on the field in the recruiting rankings and get in the door, and not just get in the door, but actually get some of these higher caliber kids, 5-star kids to come to campus, because that's what's going to help you get over the hump in the playoffs. The way the program is currently set now, they're great with player development, and they've been recruiting decently. But now, if you're able to get some of those true game changers in your program, along with the 3, 2-star, 4-star kids that you're doing a really good job player development with, now you're talking about something special where you can beat the Georgias and the Alabama type program. So I think it's just great, Jason, just hearing you name those kids off, and just think about the kids that Michigan's already brought on board and that has committed to them. When was the last time we've had 2 5-star quarterbacks back to back? We could potentially lose.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's amazing. We got Davis coming in, with this upcoming fall, next fall, right? So, it's an incredible place that this program is in, and I think it's okay just to take a step back and like, wow, look where we've come in 2-3 years. John, there's nowhere in the world 3 years ago where we were. I would have thought we would be here.
Oh boy, 2020. Dre. Oh Lord. Yeah.
Hey, Dre, me and John were talking about this, and I honestly think that the key to us opening up the floodgates for like more 5-stars, I think it's Bryce Underwood, man. If we can land Bryce Underwood, I think that's going to be huge for us.
Absolutely.
And he really loves Michigan. He loves Michigan, man. When they were talking about him, who was that guy? Stephen Webb, I think it was. He was interviewing Bryce Underwood.
Sam Webb.
Oh, yeah. Sam Webb. I'm sorry.
Sam Webb, yeah.
Excuse me. And Sam Webb was interviewing, talking about Michigan. Man, he just lit up. His face he had this big smile on his face. He says he loves the staff. They're close to his family. If we can get Bryce Underwood, man, oh man, that's gonna change a lot of things, I think.
Well, he's a local kid, right in Belleville, Michigan. Like he literally, Belleville's like 20 minutes from downtown, from Ann Arbor, and I know that because I live 15 minutes from Belleville. So, actually, he goes to the same high school my wife and my brother-in-law graduated from. So,
Westland here, man.
Yeah,
I'm from Westland.
Yeah. You know, so you're local too, so I'm very familiar with the area. And yeah, I mean that'll be an incredible get for this program. You're talking about then going 3 5-star quarterbacks back to back. I think Bryce probably is more highly rated than any of those guys. I think Bryce is actually the number one quarterback in the in his entire class. So,
yeah.
But you know, going back to when you talking about like getting the ball rolling with getting Bryce and maybe open up the floodgates. I mean, I think about something that Jaden Davis, something that really stuck up, and this is what made me love Jaden Davis even more when he committed to Michigan. Was I was watching his interview on ESPN when he committed, and someone asked him, "Why did you commit so early?" And he said he wanted to commit so he can start to work on, getting other guys to come on board. And that was so, and I could be paraphrasing a little bit, but that was so great to hear, because it shows one, a kid's leadership, his passion for not only wanting to win, but to win at Michigan. And I think you saw a couple more guys come in after he committed, and I think you'll see more, before he gets to campus next fall. So I think even before Bryce Underwood, I think the Jaden Davis signing has already started to open up those floodgates a little bit.
Hey John, does Dre know about Jordan Shipp trying to get Davis and Goodwin over to North Carolina? Did you tell him about that?
Yeah, who wasn't it? A North Carolina person that said that?
Yeah, it might be a leak. I don't know. It might not be true. But I still think that's funny.
I don't believe
it. He's trying to get Davis to flip from Michigan to North Carolina.
He's trying to recruit him over there. Yep. What happened here?
Well, I mean,
that could be fake.
I think they play together, at Providence, whatever,
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't blame the kid for trying. So hey, I mean, that's the guy who's throwing him the football. So he probably does want him to follow him to North Carolina. And look,
Davis Sanders.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good, Jason. No, and think about this. North Carolina. They had Sam Howell, and now they got Drake. Isn't Drake playing there? So I mean, they've got some pretty good. They've had some pretty good quarterback prospects lately. So, I won't dismiss them as not a threat. They could be.
And David Sanders there too, the 5-star offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. He's at Providence too, and he's supposed to be at the barbecue at the Big House or whatever. Here.
Oh snap!
That could be that could be huge, man.
Yep, this weekend.
Jaden said Jaden has the second Jaden Davis committed to Michigan, and you and I were on Jason. You and I were on that show. Jaden Davis, The Decision live stream that we did. And right after he committed, he said in that interview, he said he's going to be working the texts, working the phones, trying to get his people. And so I think he's going to try to get as many Providence State people to come to Michigan as he can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just never know. He may be able to flip Jordan Shipp. And they keep having enough conversation. Davis may get him to flip. You just never know. But, look. And one thing I keep in mind is there always has to be a little room for possible changes last minute. And one of the things that we've seen in college football lately, whether it's a transfer portal or it's kids' commitments, is that the introduction of NIL into the recruiting game has really changed these kids. I won't say level of commitment, but it gives so much flexibility as to what they do with their college career. And I think as a head coach, it behooves you to really be careful how many eggs you put into particular baskets and really be prepared for anything. And understand, and I'm not saying that, Davis is going to flip or something like that, but I definitely, Jason, believe it's okay to acknowledge, like, some of these things may have a little bit merit to it. And, that's why it's important for this coaching staff to continue to check in on these kids to make sure they don't just get complacent. Well, okay, this kid's definitely coming here. Make sure that, you're on the same page with them and things are going well, because you never know. Yeah, Troy V. Exactly. We're in a new era where no recruits guarantee. Absolutely, even 2 4-year players can leave via portal. Absolutely. That's my point exactly, Troy.
Yeah,
Like nothing's a
some good
guarantee.
quarterbacks are coming out of Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to keep your nose to the grindstone and making sure, you keep these kids happy and you find a way to get more at the same time.
No recruit is a guarantee. Yeah, I mean, listen, with the transfer portal the way that it is, it's very different. And
Yeah.
I guess that's the counter argument to when I was saying, hey, maybe we got to start thinking about, through maybe some of the collectives, hey, you give players some upfront money if they're at the very top of the sport, so we can win a playoff game. But the reality is you can get 5 stars in the portal now.
Yes.
So once they've
absolutely.
gotten that bag from wherever, then they can go to the school that they really want to go to. And, listen, Michigan's academics, I went there. It's one of the best schools in the country when it comes to academics. And if you can get a degree from there, you're set, man.
Yeah.
John, did you hear Mel Tucker on Big Ten Media?
Oh,
did you hear him
God,
say
yes.
he got some highly ranked recruits in this 24 class?
He's really doing a great job. 49th, yes.
Tell me this: John? Does he realize that he's 49th in the country in recruiting? I don't think he realizes it.
I don't know
think
if he
this
pays
dude is
attention to
delusional.
247. I don't know if he pays attention to the 247 rankings every day, but I'm sure he has a general understanding of where he is.
You know it's bad when Kentucky's beating you in recruiting. You know it's bad.
Kentucky Wildcats. Well, Mark Soup's done a pretty good job down there, so I gotta give him credit. He's actually done a pretty good job for Kentucky. Not to take it, I get what you're saying, Jason, but I actually like Mark Soups a lot. I think he's done a good job.
Oh yeah, he's a good coach for sure. I'm sure he'll turn Kentucky around.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's only so far. It's just like Missouri. It's only so far I can go with certain teams in the SEC. What do you boys think about? I saw something article shared that is Aaron Rodgers' brother. I don't know why his name escapes me.
Jordan
Rodgers said that Joe Milton's been getting a lot of love this offseason. And
a lot.
Yeah, Jordan Rodgers called Joe Milton the most talented quarterback in this upcoming class. Yeah, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on this because I found it. I feel like as a Michigan fan, we have a very unique perspective when it comes to Joe Milton because we had this kid here for his first 2 or 3 years of his career, and it started from when he got to campus. You heard about this kid's size, 6'5", cannon in the arm, big hype, and then we saw it on the field. And then I saw when he transferred, and I saw a little bit of his time at Tennessee. I don't think people realize, and this could change, is that the kid has a cannon, but unless he's fixed his accuracy issues, I don't. Yep. I think people need to pump the brakes on him a little bit.
You nailed it, man. You nailed it.
Heupel is, I will say, to Heupel's credit, he's improved Joe Milton's accuracy a bit. I think he looked pretty good in the latter portion of the season, especially in the bowl game. I think he looked pretty good.
You look good. You look good. I don't know, man. Like and I'm rooting for the kid. He didn't do anything wrong here. It didn't work out. But it's just interesting when you see a kid, for multiple years, and then they get this hype everywhere, somewhere else. And you're like, well, hold on a second. What are they seeing that I'm not seeing? And it's funny. They show clips of him throwing a ball 75 yards on the field. I'm like, well, yeah, he could do that here. He's always had a cannon, but has he fixed some of those deficiencies in his game? And that'll be interesting to see, because maybe, they can, highlight his strengths, but wouldn't that be a weird reality to live in? Joe Milton being a Heisman Trophy candidate at the end of the year. That'd be funny.
Well, Dre, according to Tennessee fans, he's going to win a Heisman this year. That's how high they are.
That's what I hear.
Wow.
All I know is, and during the COVID year, I saw a completely different quarterback out of Joe Milton. Like you said, he's got a cannon of arm. He can probably throw on 70, 75 yards.
Oh yeah.
But that doesn't really mean anything if you're not accurate and you don't make the right reads. And you make the wrong reads, all I saw him do was throw interception after interception. That's all I saw him do at Michigan. So unless there's a Messiah coaching at Tennessee, I don't see him developing into that type of quarterback, elite quarterback.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't root against any former kid here. Like I said, he didn't do anything wrong. It didn't work. Same thing with Cade. Like I want them to have success to a certain point, long as it doesn't negatively affect Michigan. I hope they all do well. Cade and Joe, just I don't let it affect us in a bad way. But more power to them. I have to hop off, fellas. It's been a pleasure. John, I know you're going to continue to show as long as you can. Jason, wonderful talking to you. And I will see you guys soon. And looking forward to some football this fall.
Yeah, good to see you again, Dre. It's been a while.
Oh, look forward to it.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
coming, Dre.
No problem.
Go Blue.
See you later, Dre. Go Blue.
Wow, how about that? Dre came back, folks.
Yeah, that was cool.
Everybody's been asking me every single day, practically, we get a comment about it. But
that was cool.
no, just for those of you who are just joining us, we've been doing our 100th episode special. We had, for the first 20 minutes or so, Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, was live from Big Ten Media Days, and we talked about the question he asked James Franklin. We talked about the question he asked Ryan Day, his kind of general. So you definitely want to, after this, rewind and watch. If you are just joining us, you want to rewind and watch those first 20 minutes. It was good stuff.
Yeah, Mark had some good questions, man. I was really impressed. He did a good job.
Well, he does the big J journalism, so I'm sure we'll hear a lot more tomorrow, and maybe he'll even get to ask Harbaugh a question.
That's what I was teasing about. Are you gonna ask Jim a question? I know you want to.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be funny if you asked him like, why can't you win a college football playoff game?
Oh God,
that'd be so bad, dude.
That would be the equivalent of what he asked. I mean, James Franklin, he basically asked him, why can't you beat Michigan and Ohio State?
Oh,
so
wow. He just did it. Yeah, you're right, though. He did it in a nice way. He just didn't do it in a disrespectful way.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to bring on now, also friend of the show, Mike Fort, joining us with his Michigan football at the Voice of College Football shirt on.
Mr. Fort.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Nada.
Go Blue.
Yeah, I just got out of work. I managed to catch, some. I'm not used to seeing Des and Dre not together. What happened?
So, we'll keep it just to this. They've had family and work obligations, but Dre apparently is planning to come back for the post game shows. So that's what I heard on earlier. So we'd love to see him back for the post game shows this year, and hopefully, and Des and Dre both know they have open invites whenever they want. So Dre took us up on it today and was able to come in the show.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm hoping that the burger stuff isn't gonna completely pollute the media stuff. But I mean, I was on the record saying
recruiting too, a lot of too.
Yeah, I mean, I supported the 4-game suspension because, I mean, we were all told, by our mom when we were little kids, the reason I punished you more is because you lied about it. I mean, nobody's going to give him a 4-game suspension because he bought a kid a burger. But, why try to hide it? Why cover it up? I mean, what's the point?
I don't understand why he did try to cover it up. Oh, it's a cheeseburger, man. He should have just been upfront about it if that's actually true.
Well, I do want to just make sure everybody's clear, because we've had some accusations of not doing our research on this program, and we do our research on this program. And so the 4 level 2 violations include meeting with 2 recruits during the COVID dead period, texting a recruit, oh my gosh, outside of an allowable time period, having analysts perform on-field coaching duties, and having coaches watching players work out via Zoom, which, by the way, the NFL if either of you watch Hard Knocks, okay, they actually had they actually all submitted their workout videos. Now this is in the NFL, but they all submitted their workout videos. And so, like, they had to do something during COVID, so they did a lot of Zoom stuff, and so then the level 1 violation came because the investigators allege that Jim Harbaugh misled them intentionally, and so now he's going to have to accept a 4-game suspension against the really difficult opponents: East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
Well, no. Rutgers has been kind of a pain in the butt, a few times recently.
That is true, but I think
more
that they're.
defense.
So we managed to squeak out a 7-point win against them at home not too long ago.
That's true. Yeah. So here's the official. So Jim Harbaugh to receive 4-game suspension for the level 1 violation, which you could get up to 6 games. So they gave him. He's negotiating 4. And then Sharon Moore and Grant Newsom 1-game suspension. And then Mike McDonald is getting a show cause. And again, this is all not officially confirmed yet unless it's happened in the last hour. Mike McDonald, who, by the way, is in the NFL, so this doesn't really apply unless he comes back to college, but he has a show cause penalty for a year as well. So these are what had come from the negotiations, apparently.
Well, the show cause thing tends to be kind of I'm trying to find the right word. It's basically them trying to overreach when they know that colleges, they're not going back to college, especially when they go to pros. Like, I think the reason they did that to Jim Tressel was because he was already taking a job with the Indianapolis Colts. So they're saying that, don't come back to college. It's basically what they were saying.
Let me just answer Tim here. Why did an assistant get a show cause? So basically, the level 2 violations. I'm guessing he participated in watching the Zoom practices or one of these 4 level 2 violations. So there were 4 total. Maybe he met with one of the recruits. Maybe we don't know who did what. So it might have been him that texted the recruit. It might have been him that did, so I don't know which level 2 violation they don't. I haven't seen anybody go into that level of detail in the reporting I've seen. But he apparently was one of the people who were committing the level 2 violations.
Well, the NCAA it seems like in the last 10, 15 years, they've been kind of heavy-handed. Like, I remember, I'm trying to think of that one, that wide receiver from Oklahoma State who lost an entire year of eligibility because he talked to an agent. To my knowledge, I don't even think, because I think it was Deion Sanders. He was related to Deion Sanders somehow. But to my knowledge, no money exchanged hands. But he lost his entire last year of eligibility just because he talked to an agent. At some point in time, you got to figure, this is going a little overboard. Everybody over there at the NCAA is being a little heavy-handed.
Examples like this are just it's all about control, man. For the NCAA, they want to have control over everything. They want to have power, and doing stupid stuff like this is just another example.
Well, it seems like they have a tendency to kind of swing the pendulum, where they'll go under and then they'll go over. Like, they sometimes when people start thinking they're a little lenient, they'll start getting over and the other side and start kind of jumping on people for ticky-tack stuff as some sort of like self-correction, which is a self-overcorrection. Show cause doesn't necessarily mean that something was really bad. It basically means that they can't touch you because you're no longer in a situation like at a NCAA college. So they're trying to get at you from beyond their reach. It didn't necessarily mean there was anything majorly wrong. It wasn't like he was caught with hookers or anything like that, or beating people up on the street. It just means that he's now in a situation where he can't be touched.
Yeah, so there were, and Tim, we did lay it out in a couple of different times in the show, the 4 level 2 violations and the level 1 violation for misleading the investigators. So we have laid it out a few times in detail what they were. So yes, we've boiled it down to the cheeseburger because that's the most absurd example of what they're doing. But either way, I think that the overall point is that compared to what we've seen other coaches get as far as their punishment, it just seems like there's a bit of a mismatch there. I think that's all that we're talking about.
It's a bit extreme for my taste. Because, like I said, look at what Tennessee did. Over 200 recruiting paying violations to recruits. Tennessee, and they get a slap on the wrist. Like I said, Urban Meyer knew about one of his staff members physically beating his wife and did nothing about it. He gets a 3-game suspension.
Allegedly.
And then you telling me that Jim gets a 4-game suspension for giving the cheeseburger out to a kid during COVID? Come on, man.
Like I say, it wasn't the cheeseburger. It was the fact that he tried to cover up the cheeseburger.
I know it wasn't all about that, but I mean, just the fact that he's, you know what I mean, that's a part of it. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I think that when people are outright paying players with bags of money, we literally heard about Tennessee, bags of money, okay? They seem to get off kind of light in their current incarnation because none of them were really involved in it, but that was pretty egregious. I think we'd all agree. And, you know, the mention of Urban Meyer, there have been other mentions made of just like the ridiculousness of the punishment compared to what others have gotten. I understand that the accusation is he misled, but good luck proving that. I mean, if Michigan took this to court, they'd have to prove with the preponderance of the evidence that Harbaugh knowingly lied. Which I mean, if they wanted to fight it, I think they could fight it, but they don't want to because Harbaugh cares about his assistants, and he wants his assistants to get his assistants head coaching experience. Because I have a theory he's gone. I don't think he's gonna. I think he's gonna win his title, or he's gonna try to win a title, and then he's gonna mic drop and go to the NFL now because of this. What do you think?
No, I hate to say it, but yeah, I think he's going to now because of what's going on.
Oh my God! Look at this guy in chat. There's a difference when what you do is giving a competitive advantage. So apparently, cheeseburgers are the new steroids now.
Right. Absolutely. Well,
they were smuggling, you know, SAT answers inside the beef.
Well, like I was telling John, Mike, the reason all this hassle's going on is because Jim didn't make it a triple cheeseburger instead of a single. That's why he got in trouble.
Or he went to the wrong burger. I mean, maybe he went to like Burger King instead of Five Guys or something.
Yeah. You know, I think we cut the BS. We get a commissioner of college football, and we lay out strong guidelines, rules for everything. Recruiting. Hey, how about minimum salary or maximum salary? Have salary caps. Like let's be honest. Like let's let Michigan pay players. Officially, let's make it legal with a commissioner of college football, and then guess what? Michigan's going to be top 3 every year because Michigan has one of the wealthiest alumni bases on the entire planet. They have a ton of business owners and connections, and I really think we just need to cut the BS and we need to have a commissioner of college football, and we need to set these things out and just be honest about where we are as a sport at this point.
It's a nice idea on paper. I don't know if it'll ever, you know, get any action.
Well, that's a whole other thing. Hey, by the way, folks, for those of you watching, we do this all the time on our Discord chat. So if you want to join our Discord, you go to patreon.com/MarkRogersTV, or you can choose to become a YouTube member for $2.99. Either way, you're going to get exclusive content. As we get towards the season, we're going to do stuff just for Patreon members and for YouTube members. So we're very excited about that. And also, don't forget to shop Amazon. When you're shopping Amazon, hit the Mark Rogers Voice of College Football link. So it supports the network, supports the channels, and we can continue doing stuff like going live to Big Ten Media Days and bringing on really good guests and all of that kind of stuff.
And buying recruit cheeseburgers. We can keep doing that.
We could just keep doing the.
Yeah, I mean,
boy,
there was some impermissible talks, obviously, but
yeah. I mean, listen, I don't think anybody's saying that they didn't do anything wrong. I don't think anybody's saying that there weren't violations. It's about the severity of the punishment, and maybe that Michigan is getting a little bit, a lot of punishment because Harbaugh's no friend of the NCAA or the Michigan program. So maybe that's a factor. That's all I'm saying.
Harbaugh's a scapegoat, man.
I thought 4 games was right.
So we're gonna wrap in a minute here, but I want to give a couple of reminders. First of all, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, John plays the season. We'll have Michigan versus Indiana. That one's, I think you'll enjoy. Then on Monday night, we do have a special host of. So I will not be hosting Big Ten Live next Monday. I'll probably be back the following Monday, but next Monday it's going to be the great. I call him the Great Corey Bratta. Hawkeye of the Storm, and he'll be. So tell all your Iowa friends. I know we have a group of Iowa people here, so tell your Iowa friends that Corey Bratta is going to be on. Coming up next on the show, we have ACC Kickoff Live on the Voice of College Football main channel at 8 p.m. Eastern, and the Pac-12 Chat Show Live at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. The regular shows won't be happening, the FSU or the Miami, because obviously Mark is a little busy. Off in Indy trying to get interviews with some of these coaches. But listen, do you guys? We'll start with Mike. Any final thought for us before we go?
Nope. I just want to support Halo Burger. Since we're coming up. If you ever go to the Flint area, I don't know why you would, but if you ever do go to the Flint area, swing by a Halo Burger. I hope they're still around. I haven't been up in the Flint area since I left 15, 16 years ago, but one of the best burgers you'll ever have.
How about that? Halo Burger. You heard it here, folks. All right, Mike. Well, go Blue, and thanks for getting out of work and stopping by.
All right, thanks for having me.
Later. And we're on to you, Jason. Final thought and all that good stuff.
Not too much, but I'm just hoping that all this stuff that's going on doesn't affect recruiting coming up, because we got a big weekend coming up, the barbecue at the big house. So hopefully, fingers crossed that some good things come out of that. And I have a Twitter account, but I'm only on there for recruiting. So if you want to post it, you can.
Yeah,
but
Jason _Moose 313, right?
Yep. But other than that, go Blue. Are you going to watch the media day tomorrow, John?
I am, of course, and I'm gonna see if Mark Rogers will potentially ask Harbaugh or some of the other coaches a question.
No, that's all I got for tonight, John. Thank you for having me on, and go Blue.
Go Blue, Jason. All right. Well, this was fun, wasn't it? 100th episode. I thought, let's make it a little special. Dre decided to stop by. We had Mark Rogers. We had callers. I think that's a pretty special 100th episode. My name's John Diadamo. I was your host tonight. Find me at Twitter /X at John Diadamo, as well as around the internet at various places. I also host usually the Big Ten, the Ocho block from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Looks like we do have one or two questions. Where the Wolverines end up in recruiting? I say top 10. maybe top 8 if we're lucky. I mean, I think we're headed towards the ceiling point at this point. We've got a couple of, we mentioned Gatlin Bear. We've mentioned the possibility of Aaron Scott, but we're getting now close to, and I even talked about this with some of the recruits when we did the Twitter Spaces. I talked about this with some of them. They feel like they pretty much got all the guys in the position groups that they want. And so because of that, I could see Alabama lapping us. I could see some other schools. Miami's starting to get 5-star recruits. USC, your team. It's very possible that Michigan goes down a few ranks. But if Michigan can end in the top 8, I think that's a pretty respectable position. And if Michigan wins the national championship, then look out, because I think the following year recruiting is going to pick up, regardless of if Michigan's collectives offer players upfront money or not. Because you're good. You want to play for a national championship school. You just do. I mean, look at Georgia. Let's see here. Ryan Day wants discussion about moving the game. I can't confirm or deny. I didn't listen to that part. But that would be interesting. I mean, if you think about it, with the elimination of divisions, we could be playing the game 3 times. And if the game is at the end of November, and then you also play it the next week, and then you also potentially play it in the playoffs, that's a lot. And that's a lot condensed too. So listen, Ryan Day has some juice. And Ohio State has some juice. And if they want it moved, there is the possibility it gets moved. I like it where it is, but we are seeing a lot of shifts in college football. Let's see. Little Brown Jug food should skyrocket. I hope that they do. And if you notice, there's been a lot of sales. There's been a lot of burger marketing lately. In the Michigan local restaurants and things like that, just finding some levity in this situation. Michigan's not going to have its coach for four games, so you find the absurdity in it, and maybe have some cheeseburger sales. Yeah, Bama's very good at recruiting. They've always done very well at recruiting. They were the number 1 in 2023. It's very possible. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to wrap at this point. Y'all, it has been great. I appreciate you all coming by, telling a friend, hitting the like button. And, this is just a reminder again of what we have coming up next on The Voice of College Football. At 8 p.m. Eastern, it's ACC Kickoff Live. And then we have the Pac-12 Chat Show live at 10:30 p.m. Eastern with Tim Prangley, Tony Altimore, TBM, Chris, and potentially others. There might be a guest caller. I know there's been in the last couple of weeks. So if you want to post who that might be. John is not going to rap. If you want me to rap, you've got to come join me at karaoke in Southwest Florida, and I'll do that for you. Rick is on vacation. All right. That's it for me. And as always, until next time, go blue, and see you next time.